I would say there's very little literature, at least in terms of access, as a general topic for Asian masculinity, or in your case here, speaking about South Asian masculinity. And a big part of that was inspired, would I be correct in saying so, by your brother?
Yes. So a lot of the origins of this topic and the discovery of it all kind of started off with something very similar that you would see in a sibling relationship, is out of spite. And I found a better understanding of myself through my first post-colonial literature class. And that really discovery moment happened when I read The Buddha of Suburbia. And so that book really kind of resonated with me and still does. And I find myself at periodic moments still thinking about that novel. And I knew I wanted to kind of dive into this deeper, especially because it was really an opportunity and really a chance that I had to see myself. And so I was talking to my brother and I was talking to my family and my friends, and I was just like, I want a topic, but I don't know what to write about. I don't know what to write about. That moment, I guess he got tired of hearing that I was like really struggling with a topic. So he was just like, why can't you write about something important? And I was like, okay, fine. What do you want me to write about? And he's like, me. And he laughed it off. And I took that moment where I was like, you know what? That's actually a good idea. I should write about you.
How old was he at the time?
He was still in high school. So about 17, very much, kind of figuring out his way. And, he was quite different at that point. He had a lot of personality. He had a lot of quick remarks back and very enthusiastic. And then things kind of, changed. And even in the course of writing that first draft in undergrad, at that early stage when I was writing and really trying to formulate my topic and understanding and see the similarities with these characters in these novels, especially because these two authors aren't typically compared to each other. And they're both, in different types of backgrounds of being South Asian men. And there's different type of trauma attached to both.
Just quickly, we're just comparing The Buddha of Suburbia and The Mimic Man.
So just to kind of provide some context on the novels. So The Buddha of Suburbia is written by Hanif Qureshi. And it takes place about first generation South Asian man growing up in London during the 70s. And how he struggles with his own identity. It's very satirical, it's very funny, and it was, the book that really gave a voice to hybridity for me, and what that means. And then The Mimic Man is an interesting novel because the main character, Ralph Singh, doesn't necessarily claim any type of immediate lineage. And so he's actually a transplant in a Caribbean island, and his lineage is based off of Indian indentured servitude that was taking place. So a number of Indians were displaced to these Caribbean islands as indentured servants, and then after the British left, they were left. And so they have generational displacement. And so that there's a sense that within that type of culture and society, it's all they know, but it's even more further displaced because they don't have that immediate tie to any type of homeland. And so it's a unique trauma in itself. And it's one that also was true for the author. And so going through these two novels that are so unique and so different and seeing the kind of, the outcome of these characters, I kept looking at my brother and seeing, trying to understand him better, especially how, his relationship with my father changed over the course of the years, and noticing that a similar situation was happening at different levels in both novels. And so The Buddha of Suburbia takes a very comical approach to it. And the father figure is, a very interesting character, but he is very a central point of the novel. And on the other side, The Mimic Man, there's, a deep rooted resentment, but also disappointment in the father-son relationship in The Mimic Man. It was really unique to see those two different types of perspectives and then kind of witness, the changing or the evolution my brother and my father were having, and even my cousin and family friends that I've kind of seen growing up.
Just to make a understanding of your family's timeline, where were you born and where was your family born, and what was the background of your family?
I was born in Pakistan, and my parents were first generation Pakistanians. Their parents were actually born and raised in India. So that's how immediate the India-Pakistan separation kind of took place for their history. And then we came to America around 88, and I was raised here. We've never really had the opportunity to go back to Pakistan, just us as a family and siblings.
And your brother was born in the United States?
Yes, he was the only one that was born here and raised here. And we all went to public school here. We all went through the educational system. But I think we also had a very unique situation where when we came here, there wasn't a lot of diversity, especially in Virginia at the time. And so I distinctly recall being like 4 years old or 5 years old in elementary school where teachers like, where are you from? And it's one of those things you don't really pick up as a child, especially once you're kind of, entering a world outside of your immediate home. And I said Pakistan, and, no one at the time knew what that was. It was such a unique time because there wasn't a lot of diversity. And it was me and possibly one other person who was Arab descent, but her facial features let her pass for a different type of opportunity. And at the same time, she also kind of struggled with just being able to be recognized and have that acknowledgement, because we were always constantly asked, even at the youngest age, where are you from? And so it was really unique because we didn't have that type of diversity and that representation. I look at school systems today, and there's definitely an advantage of having, multiple generations here now and established communities well established. But growing up for my parents, it was such a challenge because my mom even talks about missing to hear someone speak in our language growing up. Because in the Buddha suburbia, it's such an interesting time period in London. You have a lot of bachelorism taking place.
And children who need to be able to count and multiply are learning anti-racist mathematics, whatever that may be.
A lot of racism that was taking place.
Children who need to be able to express themselves in clear English are being taught political slogans. Children who need to be taught to respect traditional moral values are being taught that they have an inalienable right to be gay.
Not to say that it was overt when you were growing up, but you're othered really quickly.